Hi, welcome to the Retro Game Club podcast, Season 6, Episode 22, which is also 185. And with me is someone that thinks Nintendo may eventually release another console. Hugh.
It's possible. I don't know. Do we need games better than the Switch? I've thought about this before, and I think this actually comes up in our Ask Us Anything list. So, by the way, keep sending, if you have any Ask Us Anything, we're going to record that soon because I'm noping off podcasting at the end of the year. And we're going to do an Ask Us Anything. And there were questions about, like, favorite generations. And, you know, because we care so much, we actually, like, took notes on our responses so we aren't just winging it when people email us questions. But, like, I sort of feel like there's a time where games have sort of peaked to where I don't need them to look any better. Mm-hmm. And even, like, back in the NES days, I didn't think the NES was the peak of that. I didn't think it was the Super Nintendo or anything, but we're kind of getting to the era now, and maybe we got to it like 15 or even 20 years ago, where graphical improvements in games just don't really do anything for me.
Yeah, I mean, the Nintendo Switch, and even like the new East game that I'm playing, and a lot of games that are on the PS5, kind of look like they were made for the PS3. Like, maybe they're doing a few things that the PS3 couldn't do, technically, possibly. Mm-hmm. But I think it's good enough. You know?
Yeah, I played the Persona 3 remake recently, and that was originally a PSP game. The remake looks maybe like a Vita game, and that's on PS5. Basically playing games that are 20 years old.
Yeah.
So it was fine. I don't need more out of that. So I don't care if Nintendo ever makes another console. Just keep making Switch games.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. But I don't know. Rumors say there's some very smart YouTubers that have nothing to do with Nintendo that say they're pretty sure a new system's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, I don't know, how often does Apple, like, refresh their desktop lineup? Like every 10 years?
Refresh it? No, every other year. This
every
week, literally today, they released the new iMac.
They're doing I know released a new one this year. I thought the previous iMac had been around longer.
So what they do is every year they do iPads and iPhones, but every other year it's like MacBook Pro. You know, they like 1 year will be MacBook Pro and iMac, and then the next year will be the Mac Mini and, you know, the Mac Air or something like that. So yeah, I guess it's every 2 years. It's a big refresh.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's more often than Nintendo. I don't know. For me personally, I feel like a lot of technology has already kind of reached its peak of usefulness, and the Switch is right around there. I think cell phones probably stopped adding useful features 5 years ago.
But don't you need AI in your Switch?
Yeah, it's exactly what I need. For I don't know what purpose.
Blockchain.
So blockchain, yes. Maybe so I don't have to play the games anymore. Is that it? Like, I could just, if I want to, like, grind in an RPG, I can just set the Switch down and it knows what, like, party I want to use?
That's actually not a bad idea. I actually had an idea for an endless RPG that just uses AI to keep updating the story. And it'll keep getting more and more ridiculous as time goes on.
So, like, Tears of the Kingdom, I never upgraded all the armor and equipment in the game that you can get. Mm-hmm. Could AI do that for me?
I bet it could. Not very well. I'm sure it would look funny while it's doing it.
Okay.
But other than writing your Switch to Rumors blog, what else have you been up to?
I don't know. I've been reading a lot about the archive.org hack, only because we link to it frequently. Mm-hmm. And the last game, I want to do a Christmas game this year for, like, probably the last episode I'm ever recording. And I'm like, wait a minute, can I actually safely link to that game? Because it's not a game most people own. So I went to the archive.org where you could download the game. And in the comments section, there was now just a comment saying, click here to download this thing. And it went to a site that you should never, ever click on.
Really?
Yeah.
So was that part of the hack?
I don't know. but it was not there last time I went to look for this game. So
It must have been.
yeah. But, of all the things to hack, like, come on, these guys are trying to provide a free service.
Absolutely. Archive.org, I think, is 100 times better than Wikipedia, in terms of usefulness.
Usefulness, okay.
I think they're doing good for the universe,
Yeah, some of the book stuff, my wife is an author, so she was not happy about sites that, like, give away books for free.
Mm-hmm.
So that one she's not thrilled about. I don't think her stuff is on archive.org.
I actually emailed the CEO. This is when the pandemic started and they did the free book thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent out, because I had donated to them to at least once a year before that. And so I responded to his email and directed it directly at him, not the no reply email. And I just said, like, in order for me to donate again, I kind of feel like there needs to be a change of leadership, because you can't just start giving away new books that people are still selling. Like, I understand old ROMs and stuff. That's fine. No one's trying to sell those for the most part, but you can't just do that. You're gonna get sued. And look what's happening. They may go under because of it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That was a very, very bad decision on their part.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a bunch of people under him saying, like, you sure we should do this? You sure you want me to press this button?
Yeah, I don't know. I also just learned in the last 15 minutes that Poshmark has a video game section.
What's Poshmark?
So Poshmark is a site, it was created for people to sell, designer or vintage clothing. Like, I bought an outfit that I wore once to a wedding. I'm never going to wear it again. So you put it up on Poshmark.
Interesting.
That was the intention of the site. But I learned that they have video games now, or maybe they have for a long time. So I'm looking to one thing. Do you want to click on this?
I did.
Tell me what you think about this listing.
Okay, so I'm going to read this out loud.
Okay.
So it was updated 18 minutes ago. It's Sega Genesis Classic Gaming Console, and it's the At Games one, the one that you don't want.
And the one that you got at Dollar General, yes.
Yes, and it was $120, but it's now discounted to $80.
$80, yeah. It was $4.99 at Dollar General. No, actually, I think this one was like $15 or $20, maybe as high as $30 at Dollar General.
And someone asks in the comments, does this have Sonic and the Hedgehog? Sonic and the Hedgehog.
Yes. That has to be a game. Does this have Sonic and the Hedgehog? The great irony is it actually does. This has built-in games.
But he says it doesn't.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
But let's see. There's some other recommendations here. There's two Atari 2600 Juniors. One is 80 and one is 100. Huh.
Yeah.
The 81...
OG Xbox 140. Yeah.
Oh, man. This site's dangerous for me now. Just scrolling.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Because you may find something on here. You know what I mean? You might find some weird deal. Because no one else is looking.
It's possible. Like, some of this stuff is clothing, like what the site is intended to be selling. Because I see someone selling, like, a bundle of, like, PlayStation-branded clothing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what I was looking for. It's funny, I now forgot what I was on this site looking for in the first place.
Yeah, there's actually more console stuff than I thought there would be. Wow.
Yeah, for a clothing site. Okay, interesting. So, what have you been up to?
Oh, man. So I moved. That happened. That's why we didn't have a last episode. I mean, we had a spare episode, but that wasn't great. So I only moved about 5 houses away, right? Mm-hmm. And it's my genius idea. This is like a sitcom dad scenario, right? Where I was like, we're just moving across the street. We're going to pay people to move our big stuff, take apart stuff and put it back together. Mm-hmm. And I'll move all the small stuff. I'll just bring the trolley back and forth. Mm-hmm. 10,000 trips later. Each
Yeah.
day, so it was about 4 days of moving, not like nonstop, but 2 of the days were. But I got around between 25 and 30,000 steps each of those days, and I never left my
Okay.
block. Yeah, just exhausting. And I have a great game room here set up now. There's no door. It's kind of like a remade attic kind of thing.
Okay.
But I have like shelves for video games. I have my couch and my TV, and the Mister is finally set up again. And yeah, it's all coming together. Watch some movies up here, so that's good. The new house is good. Having a yard again is good, but don't move. Never move
Yeah.
unless you have to. Unless your landlord sells your house, like happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I will have to move at some point because I don't. You were saying how nice it is to have a yard again. I cannot wait to get rid of the yard.
The yard is mostly for the kids
Okay.
because we had a garage and an alley before, and so my daughter would play in the alley, which is not. I mean, it's a nice alley, but it's not like some, I don't know, rundown drug alley. But anyway, let's see. I've been playing East 10. Did you start this yet?
No, it hasn't even arrived yet. It launched in the U.S. a couple days ago, and Amazon has still not managed to deliver it to my house.
Yeah, I have a feeling they were all sending from Asia, and I think it all got shipped late. I actually bought mine digitally, so I'm going to have 2 copies. Because mine hasn't arrived yet, and I didn't want to wait. It's definitely made for East fans, and so far it's in my bottom third of East games, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
The translation's better.
Okay, it's a new engine. I know that much.
Yeah, it feels like the next game could be great, but this one, it's just not. The mechanics aren't hitting with me, and the music just doesn't seem as. It doesn't seem to hit as hard. I don't know.
Yeah. They changed. They changed composers. At least one of the, 1/3 or 1/4 of the team.
You could tell.
Changed out because you notice that in like the latest Trails game is I wouldn't say it's bad. It's different. Like there's a lot of kind of jazzier tunes.
It just doesn't
like
hit as hard.
Yeah. Well, I think the new one composer left or is in a different role in the company. One that did a lot of some of the heavier songs, and the new guy that's on the team is definitely his stuff is more like slow, kind of like, again, jazzy ambient music. So I just think it's a different direction for the sound team. And it says it's arriving by 10 p.m. tomorrow for me. So there you go.
Nice. I hope you get it right at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
You'll be waiting at the door all day. What else? Oh, I've been taking driving lessons.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's been going fine, but it's funny because I have a driver's license here, like an Australian one. I'm legally allowed to drive wherever I want in any car I want, but it's different. It's not just driving on the other side of the road. And so that's actually been pretty fun. And I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird having driver's ed again as an adult. But I've been watching a lot of Halloween movies so far.
Wait,
Critters
hold on,
1 through... Huh?
Real quick, I'm sorry. Are the cars all stick shift?
No.
Okay.
No. I haven't seen a stick shiftier one yet.
Okay. I'm sorry.
But
Halloween movies,
yeah. I've been watching. Let's see, what have I gotten through? Tell me if you have any opinions on these. So far, Critters 1 through 3. In here, I have Poltergeist 1 and 2, but last night me and my son watched 3. Jason X, which I don't know if that's Jason 10, and The Frighteners. Any emotions on any of those?
I mean, I have watched Jason X more than once.
Really?
Even though, yeah.
It feels
It's
like a
not good
video game movie.
It does, kind of. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
A lot of nudity in
guess
that one.
It is. It's a lot like Leprechaun in Space.
I have not seen that yet.
Yeah, don't. They're very similar movies. Not great. I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer last night.
I like that movie.
That one's good. I didn't realize or it blocked from my memory that there are 2 sequels.
Oh, I haven't seen those.
I haven't either. I might watch them. We'll see how much time Well, I guess you can watch them outside of Halloween too.
I think I heard they're remaking that one. Which seems bad because the whole reason horror movies worked in the 80s and 90s is there were no cell phones.
Okay.
So they're going to have to come up with a reason that they don't have a cell phone, I guess.
Okay.
What else? Oh, I put in here that we should probably talk about the Analog 3D.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at it. It's FPGA, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's pretty powerful. You know, they're saying it might be able to do Dreamcast if it uses open FPGA, but who knows if they'll lock that down so they could just sell other systems, which I don't blame them for. They're a for-profit company. But now that the Mister does N64 very well, I don't know if there's a use for this. And my question to you is, do you think this would sell better than the Duo they released?
Yeah, so I think this is a matter of bigger floor versus bigger ceiling. Does that make sense? So,
No, I don't understand.
Okay, so it's a mathematical thing, right? You know, you're familiar with the concept of okay, so the TurboGrafx has the bigger floor, meaning it's the bigger sort of minimum sales. Like there's a group of people, we're probably included in this demographic, that will just buy any TurboGrafx stuff that's made.
Guilty, yes.
Right. So I don't know that Nintendo 64 has a community of people who will buy anything with Nintendo 64 written on it. But there are way more people who have Nintendo 64 games sitting around the house than people who have TurboGrafx games sitting around the house.
And probably more people with Nintendo 64 nostalgia. Not like hardcore gamers like us, but just casual gamers.
Yeah, like there's a lot of people who might be like, oh, I can play, GoldenEye or whatever on it again.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is like the top 10 most popular games are all on the Switch. So,
good point.
Well, maybe not top 10, top 3 to 5, let's say. It'd be kind of neat. Like I have a working Nintendo 64 with an HDMI adapter. There are some games that you're not going to get sold in collections, like if you like the bad pro wrestling games on the system, because of licensing, you're not going to end up getting those on a collection ever.
Yeah.
Probably, no, they really would. They didn't do annual Madden games on N64. I'm trying to think, like outside of like Ocarina of Time and Mario 3D and GoldenEye, like what are people really clamoring for on the Nintendo 64? I don't know. I don't know what the
I don't know.
into.
Banjo and Kazooie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good one.
Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah.
Do people like the Castlevania games?
I think they do not.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the Turbo Duo better than the 64.
Yeah, so that's basically it. Like you can sell to a small community that buys everything, or try and sell to a bigger community where it's going to be. I guess if 10% of people who owned a Nintendo 64 bought this, it would outsell the TurboGrafx version.
True, yeah. But I did purchase this because just in case they open it up, it has a really powerful FPGA in there. Like you could do some really cool stuff. But I ordered it, I want to say 20 hours after the store opened. And I got one fine, no problem. And I do not think that is it didn't sell out, no one wants it kind of thing. I think they just know how to do launches and they will just make that many units. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And why can't Sony do that yet? They still can't do that. I don't understand.
Yeah, they're not pre-order because you don't pre-order. It's not like Sony's going to announce the PlayStation 6 one day and then start like a 12-month pre-order. They could do that.
They could do
Nintendo
that.
could do that with their theoretical Switch 2 or whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah.
Just say, you're going to get this in a year. Pre-order start now.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like they should do that. And then anything to stop scalpers. What do you think is worse as a human being, a scalper or a micromanager?
The scalpers, I think, are the worst
human.
Like I think they're legitimately bad people.
Yeah.
And I think they're probably not redeemable. Whereas someone who's just kind of like a bad micromanager, I think you could train them to do something different, to act different. I think they're trainable.
Oh, what if you worked at a scalping shop and you had a micromanaging manager?
Oh, yeah, that would be awful. Making sure, calling you while you're on your way to Target, like, okay, now you're going to go to Target and then make sure it's aisle 7 that has the PlayStation 5s and you got to buy every one they got there. And make sure you're using the credit card that ends in 1234. And, okay, now when you're carrying the PlayStations out of the store, yeah, I can imagine that.
That would be the worst.
And while you're in checkout, they call you like, hey, so how's the purchase of the PlayStation 5 going?
Yeah, did you sell it yet? Did you flip it? I guess we have some retro news, huh?
A few things here. RetroTime USB hub for NES.
I think this is great because this person at RetroTime, I guess is the name of the company, created this thing that is a Bluetooth adapter for the NES that uses the bottom port on your original NES. I think that's awesome. Finally, it has a purpose.
Yeah, the expansion port. So you don't have to take the NES apart.
It also says it enables expansion audio. What does that mean? Is that the audio channels from like the Famicom?
I don't know.
Interesting. I didn't notice
Is it
that
like
part
the
before.
stuff? A special mode that allows some Famicom games to use more audio channel for a better audio experience. So there you go.
Very cool. And how much is this? $60. That's not so bad. I think that's pretty reasonable. And then a $30 SNES game controller adapter. That's kind of cool. I could see that being useful. What else do we have here? Oh, the dumbest. I almost cut this, but it's so dumb I didn't.
Yeah, I put in the notes it's too dumb not to talk about.
So the Mr. FPGA has a new trick. You can launch games from CD, but it's not what you think, is it?
No, it's not. Because it's not launching the games from the CD. It's like the trick where you scan the UPC code for a game and then it loads the ROM.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all it is. It's a QR code, but it's a CD.
Yeah, so you put the CD in. It's not reading the CD, it's playing the ROM, but you have to have the physical CD. So you can scratch up the CD, I guess, while you're trying to load this ROM. Because you ripped the CD. I mean, most of my CDs that I play are ripped. I have a big collection of Turbo Duo and Sega CD games. But I ripped them so I don't have to
scratch them,
handle the disc.
Yeah. So why do you think the Mr. can't do a Polymega style thing where I just hook a USB CD drive or DVD drive to this? And like you said, like TurboGrafx and Sega CD games, they don't have copy protection. Why can't I just play those directly?
I'm sure you could, right?
I don't think so. If our listeners know, if I'm wrong, please email us, email@retrogameclub.net, because I would like to do that. But yeah, so this this is CD NFTs. I think the next one is yours.
Oh yeah, Doom running on things. Redbox kiosks can run Doom. So, Redbox is out of business.
So can you explain to people that might not know what Redbox is?
Oh yeah, Redbox is the DVD rental boxes you see outside of stores. They're very popular in rural areas because
They're like vending machines, right?
Yeah, they're vending machines, but you get DVD rentals. And then you put the DVD back in the Redbox, when you're done watching it. So it's like going to So in a lot of smaller communities, you may not have access to high-speed internet, and you may just not want to pay, hundreds of dollars for various streaming services to watch movies, which of course exists outside of rural areas. So when I was reading about the Redbox bankruptcy, it was really the context of how small towns are impacted the most by it, because the Netflix or whoever basically put Blockbuster out of business, and then they stopped distributing DVDs. So now how are you going to get DVDs if you don't live in an area with high-speed internet? And so Redbox, we have them all. I see them all over. So it's, again, it's not strictly a rural problem. So I see them all over Chicago as well. But they're out of business. They have been, I don't know if they've been liquidated, but no one is buying up the machines as far as I can tell. And somebody collected one of the machines and found out it was just running a Dell Optiplex with a 32-bit version of Windows 7 embedded. So, of course, you could just run Doom on it.
That's funny.
I contend, now this is not actual legal advice, but I think if you saw a Redbox, like just out in front of a store, I think you could just walk away with it.
I feel like you can, yeah. And also, I think our listeners should ask us for legal advice. That's something we should offer.
Yeah, well, yeah, as long as you acknowledge it's not legal advice.
Yeah.
So, like, I saw an article about how you can empty the machines because the credit card readers are no longer connected to the internet. They ran like a proprietary Wi-Fi. They didn't just use like random Wi-Fi. They had like a proprietary system built in, right?
Yeah.
But that's disconnected because the company's out of business. Mm-hmm. So there's a failback in the Redbox software that if you enter just a valid card number, it queues that transaction up to replay when it has an internet connection again.
Oh, wow. Of course it does.
Yeah, well, you want to rent the DVDs. I mean, so...
Yeah.
People can go and just, you can get an expired card or like a card from like the kind you get at the grocery store behind the counter and just empty the machines out if you want a bunch of 5-year-old scratched up DVDs.
Do you think Redbox machines are going to be the next man cave need? Or Arcade 1-Up will release a Redbox?
Yeah, they might. I gotta admit, that would be, that'd be kind of fun. I don't know that I would want one in my house, but that's kind of neat. It's like a jukebox.
Maybe if you had an Airbnb, like you owned an Airbnb, you could put one of those in there.
Oh yeah, if I turned my house into an Airbnb, I would for sure put one of those in, but it would be free. You could just grab DVDs out of it.
That's funny.
From the screen. Yeah, why not? That would be good reviews for that.
I really want 1-Up to create one of these.
Yeah. But if you were a fan of the Crackle streaming service, it was the same parent company. Yeah, same parent company as Redbox. So that's why they are gone now too.
Seems like Tubi took over on all that.
On the free, yeah. I know Amazon runs like Freevee or Freebie something. They're competitor to Tubi, but...
Tubi's better than it should be. It really is.
Tubi has a lot of good stuff. Yeah, you can watch Gem and the Holograms on there. You can...
Nice.
Any 80s TV show that should not be streaming because it's bad is going to be on there.
Yeah.
I mean, Tubi is basically the bin of DVDs at a Menards. Like, you've ever shopped at Menards?
Oh,
they have the bin of $5 DVDs. That's Tubi.
Yeah, but it's free.
It's free.
All right. The next article actually didn't load for me because I have an ad blocker on.
Oh, good.
But
it won't load for me either then.
But
nope, didn't load.
But yeah, so Shinobi, the Sega video game, is getting made into a set of movies with the director from Extraction, which I've never seen, and it's being released by Universal.
Is that like some kind of dental horror movie? I've never heard of it.
It could be. Yeah, I don't know. But, isn't Shinobi about saving kids as a ninja? That could be a good plot, right?
It's been done, I'm sure, at least once.
Well, I mean, that's also what Michael Jackson Moonwalker is about too, except not as good and a bit.
Yeah,
phallic.
Moonwalker and Shinobi are similar plot-wise, I suppose.
I never thought about that till today. But I think that could be good as a movie. Why not? That last Mortal Kombat movie I thought was great. I really did.
Yeah.
I mean, for a Mortal Kombat movie. Shinobi and...
Another Star Wars game is getting remastered. I've never heard of this game. I'm sorry. I know this is like becoming a running theme. What is this?
Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. I think this is the fighting game, but I could be wrong. Let's see.
What was this on originally?
I feel like this was on PS1. Let me look quickly. Because that page, it
It was originally for PlayStation, Dreamcast, Game Boy Advance.
I bet it was great in Game Boy Advance. But it's a mixed
what?
platform and beat 'em up game. I've never played
hold
this
on.
one.
There's a like Star Wars. I played like Star Wars Episode 2, some game on Game Boy Advance, and it actually is pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, it was actually pretty fun for a Game Boy Advance game.
I mean,
It's not like super technical, but it played fine.
you often make the correct point that the best thing to come out of the prequels was the video games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%.
So this actually makes me want to play this. Yeah, it's 2 players. It's a beat 'em up, platforming. I thought this was like that big head fighting game, like a Street Fighter type fighting game, but it is not. Yeah, this doesn't look bad. I think I will try it before buying it, though, for sure. I don't know if I need this remade in my life. But
I'll
let's
have
see.
to see if I have this on a. I have all the Dreamcast samplers, and buying it for Dreamcast is probably not going to be cheap. So,
How is Aspire's remastering record? Are they good?
I thought they were good.
I can't remember. All I remember, didn't Aspire do a lot of Mac ports? Like PC to Mac? I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think they mostly do. Yeah, they mostly do ports.
But they usually, like, the games I've played by them haven't been remasters, so I don't know how good they are at that. But this looks fine. Like we said, this looks like the graphics are good enough. Yeah, I might need this. If they updated the controls to make it a bit modern, that might be good. What else do we have? We have a topic this week.
Yeah, real quick one.
So I think it was last episode we were talking about unwinnable states in games and how to get into them. And so
Right.
we thought we'd just mention it. There's a wiki page, not Wikipedia, but a wiki page on a bunch of them. And not shocked at all, most of the King's Quest games have an unwinnable state.
Yeah, let's be clear though that they have a very specific definition of unwinnable state on this site, because like the first 2 games I thought of aren't on this page.
So what's their definition here? Like,
Their definition is, okay, the game must have a victory condition, right? Because games that aren't winnable.
yeah.
So there you go. Something the player does, either through action or inaction, must make it impossible for the player to win. After the game is in an unwinnable state, the player must be allowed to continue the progress for a fair amount of time.
Okay.
That last one is why the 2 games I mentioned would not be included, because they both tell you immediately that you can now not win the game.
Well, let's go through yours, then let's go through this list.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned like 2 games last week, Tombs and Treasure and Phantasy Star 3. Both have unwinnable game states, but the game comes out and directly tells you, like, you cannot win this game now. And then I was thinking there's a lot of games that have multiple endings where you can get locked out of the good ending right away and still play through the rest of the game. Like Night Trap, you can, in like, I don't know, the first 2 minutes, get locked out of the best ending of the game.
yeah.
It's pretty simple to do. Those were the first things that came to mind for me. Like, you're just stuck from getting the best ending, which I know isn't unwinnable. You still can finish the game.
I mean,
then, yeah, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna go on to this list, but what was the other one?
The other one he mentions here, but it doesn't tell you, is in Legend of Zelda Second Quest. You can get stuck in a room, but this Legend of Zelda, you can always do the save and quit option. So I don't think you're really stuck permanently, are you?
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. I think, yeah, because you wouldn't start there. That's for sure.
And then, like I think I mentioned E6, I accidentally created an unwinnable game state by not upgrading all my weapons before entering the last dungeon that you're not allowed to exit.
That happened to me too. I think I ground through it, but I forget. It took forever, and it was really boring.
You cannot. No, the boss before the last boss, you basically can't damage.
Maybe I was thinking of East 7 then. I feel
Maybe.
like you could do that in almost any East games.
Yeah, East 1 and 2, like there's if you don't recover all the silver equipment, you can't damage the last boss.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that is right.
So they do like that, but the later games, like I mean, East 8, handles it really well. Like it's literally like you go up and says you're now going to fight the last boss. Are you sure?
Yeah,
And you can say no and go back to the village and upgrade whatever you feel like.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. Deja Vu. I haven't really played that one. Gauntlet, which I did not know there was an unwinnable state in Gauntlet.
So how does hold on, the NES is the arcade or the NES version it's talking about here?
It doesn't say. Oh,
Just
NES
your
port.
NES
NES
port,
port. Yeah. Requires 8-digit password for the final level. You must yeah, the password must be collected from hidden objects in well-hidden rooms throughout the course of the game. If you miss any of them, and most are easy to miss, you can keep playing the game all the way, but you cannot win. That's really annoying.
That's bad, yeah.
I don't really know the Hugo games, but Hugo 1 through 3.
Okay. They're kind of a Maniac Mansion style game.
Yeah, yeah. All all the first 6 King's Quest games, which I like King's Quest 6 the best because it just starts out by saying there are about a dozen. Yeah, that tracks. I feel like I did the one in King's Quest 4, and I know almost everyone did the one in King's Quest 5 the first time they played it because it's so easy to do. And in fact, there's more than one in King's Quest 5. Secret of Mana. Did you know about that one?
No, but it seems hard to do this.
Let's see. If you take the first cannon service to the Water Palace, but walk back to the cannon without entering the palace, then take the cannon to Gaia's navel. That was a weird thing to say out loud. You become stuck in an area because you need to. You need a spell.
Yeah, so they didn't expect anybody to do this. There's a while ago I did this article about replaying the first Legend of Heroes game, and I got tired of grinding, so I just hacked my experience points so I would be maximum level at the start of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it does the thing where you get into a unwinnable boss fight at one point in the game. A lot of games do this, but you can't lose to the unwinnable boss.
Oh, so you're just
your level's too high, so you're stuck.
Nice.
So that's it. That doesn't really count. I mean, you could theoretically grind to be high enough level. Like there's that video of the guy that ground all the way to level 99 in Final Fantasy VII before he left the first room.
I bet that was fun.
Yeah, it took him years.
That's
No,
funny.
literally, yeah.
Let's see. Space Quest 1 and 2. Ultima, what is that, 7? And Ultima 7 Part 2.
This is another, like, who thinks of this? If you fly the magic carpet over a particular mountain on the Isle of the Avatar and hear the Guardian laugh maniacally, you will trigger a gate near the end of the game to close, making the game unwinnable.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, so this isn't a very long list, right?
Yeah, it links to TV tropes and Giant Bomb, like other articles that use a different definition of unwinnable game. Like the Giant Bomb article is huge.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, so that one mentions Tombs and Treasure, and it probably mentions Phantasy Star 3, Return to Zork. If the player commits murder on any non-playable character, steals an item, blah blah blah. So yeah,
Castlevania. Duke Nukem. There's a lot in here. Yeah. Let's see if there's any.
Yeah, Colossal Cave Adventure was the first text adventure ever, so it doesn't shock me that that there are some ways where you can get stuck because you had really thought of. I mean, it was the first one to ever do it.
Oh, there's one in Task Times in Tone Town. My point to this was I'm sure there were games that this happened to me and it just frustrated me, but I was too young to realize. And I'm almost positive this Task Times in Tone Town one happened to me. Well, there you go. Yeah, and this list, I mean, is longer than the other one, but I'm sure there's hundreds more examples that we just don't know about. Were there any others you wanted to mention?
I'm kind of surprised there's a Twilight Princess one here. Twilight Princess can become unwinnable by mistake if the game is saved while players are inspecting the ancient canon immediately after opening the passage to it. Because it causes a character who follows you to stop following you.
Oh, okay.
And Nintendo even allowed players to mail back their game and trade in for a patched version if you got stuck there. Because this is before patching.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
It's a lot like you have to save at a very specific weird time. So I'm surprised I never got it because I save constantly.
Nice. Well, yeah, I think that's a fun topic. So if our listeners have any examples where that happened to them, please email us, email@retrogameclub.net. And I think that was the question of the week, so we may have some socials about that.
I think there are a couple of responses to it, yeah.
But we do have some Game Club, right?
Yeah.
So I did Stun Runner. I played it on the Lynx, and I played the arcade version on Midway Atari Treasures 3. And let's see, what are my notes here? So I have very vivid memories of this game. Let's see, it was released in, when was this? 1989. It feels earlier than that, but yeah, I guess that tracks. And this is, I guess, the same engine, but an upgraded version of Hard Drive-In, I guess you would pronounce it. But I just love this game. Anytime I would see it in an arcade, they had it at my local Aladdin's Castle, I would play it every time. It was just so much fun. So you race in this hover car looking thing and you get upgrades, and you can, if you're in a tunnel, you could go in a 360 loop, and there's F-Zero type boosts in it. You have, a cannon type thing, a regular gun type thing. You could shoot some cars. Some are invincible, but the point is like any early racing game where you just have to get to the checkpoint before time runs out. And what else? The Midway Classics, or I guess our Midway Arcade Treasures 3 port is great. It's actually a great disc. There's a lot of good stuff on there. There's what do we got? The stuff I like. San Francisco Rush, 2 different ones, Stun Runner and Super Off-Road, and Hydro Thunder. Not a bad collection. And there's a few others in there that I didn't know, so I didn't list them. But the Lynx port is way better than it should be. Yeah, it's slower and it has not a great frame rate, but it's all there. It's really good. There's an Atari ST port. Most of the ports are for computers. It's okay, but I definitely think someone could have taken this Atari ST port and ported it to the Jaguar. Someone way smarter than me. And then there's also a homebrew C64 port that really surprised me. But yeah, what do you think of this game?
So it's like I own Midway Arcade Treasures 3 and I didn't bother hooking it up because I'm feeling very lazy lately. But I played the Lynx version, and it is indeed very, very impressive. It's not as smooth as Warbirds, which we just did recently, but it plays a lot faster.
Yeah,
it kind of feels like if Tempest was a racing game, is what I said.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got through the first 3 stages, and then the difficulty kind of ramps up after that, and I gave up.
I think that's what happened to me in any time I played in the arcade. And one thing I should mention is that this has no way to win. The last level is just ultimate, and it's like an endless runner, and you
Oh
just
wow.
go as far as you can until time just runs out. It's kind of a cool thing. You just whoever could go the longest, which I'm sure there's some. It wouldn't be a speed run, but it would be a high score, I guess. That's just stupid.
Yeah. Let's look that up here. Stun Runner
Like
World Record.
someone's just drinking Red Bulls for 3 days, and
It's so hard to find good world records anymore. Twin Galaxies is
just a mess.
yeah, I don't even know. Like, I'm not taking sides in any of the Twin Galaxies debates. I'm just I don't want to talk about Twin Galaxies, man.
You brought it up.
I know I shouldn't have. Just I don't know. Everything about Twin Galaxies feels like a train wreck to me at this point. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the world record is for playing it the most.
Yeah, and I don't really see anything on YouTube about it either. So, but yeah, I mean, for
Found
the
a
time,
page written in Microsoft front page 4.0 talking about it, but
well, I was just gonna say for the time, it had amazing It had amazing 3D graphics and really good sound. Like, great job, Atari. So, what did you play?
played Solstice.
Yeah.
Solstice. So, great soundtrack. I looked up afterwards, and it's a Tim Follin soundtrack, which Follin, which I guess makes sense because he does outstanding chiptune music. The controls, though, are kind of a nightmare. I really could not control this game very well at all. Died pretty much constantly. I feel like I got stuck numerous times, like where I was just in a room walking around and I couldn't get out of the room.
Yes, that happened to me too.
I felt like that a lot. So then I watched the 100% speed run, which I'll put a link to here, although it's an archive.org link. So you might want to find a different source. But after watching that speed run, yeah, I don't have the skills for this anymore. I thought this was be more like an adventure game, but watching the speed run, there are these crazy like jump sequences you have to do. Like, you get into a room and blocks start falling, and there's no way to, respawn them unless you leave the room and come back. And you just have to like bang, bang, bang across like 4 of these things in a second. So man, it was a mess.
Not possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if it was 1988 and I just rented this game, I probably would have finished it over the weekend.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Because you're a
Probably-
kid, you have nothing else happening.
Got nothing else going on. My reflexes are a little faster. Probably would have powered right through it. It's like, 'cause I do like isometric games, like Super Mario RPG and the Super Nintendo version of Shadowgate. Really like those games. But, those aren't really action games. Mario RPG has a couple action sequences, but not very many. So, I don't know. Maybe someday I'll try and code an isometric demo just to see how difficult it is to get the controls right. I'm sure it's way harder than I'm thinking it is.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's any isometric games I end up liking. Most of them aren't for me, except for Marble Madness, but you get a non-ISO choice, in the controls. I don't know if I'm just not smart enough to control them. But like, isn't Crystal Castles ISO?
Crystal Castles, yeah, and you hate Crystal Castles.
Yeah, Qbert I never really got into. I don't hate Qbert, I just never really got into it. Viewpoint, when I got Neo Geo stuff, everyone wanted me to play Viewpoint, and I tried that. I'm like, I guess it's impressive for the time, but I keep running into stuff.
So my last comment here was, I think this is technically a good game, but it's not for me.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way. I do feel like I appreciate it more as an adult than I would as a kid. Like, it probably wasn't easy to create, like you said. I'm shocked there's no ROM hacks fixing the controls somehow. But I don't know how you would fix them. Like, how you would make that feel better. Because, again, it's almost the Viewpoint that ruins it for me. And I wanted to mention that this is Nintendo and Sony's first collaboration, because this was Software Creations, which is Sony ImageSoft. And so this is the first step to the Sony PlayStation, or the Nintendo PlayStation.
Wow, yeah, in a very
A very meta
tangential
way.
sort of way. Yeah. There is a ROM hack that makes the game larger and more difficult.
That's just what we need, right?
All right, what are you going to play next?
I'm going to play Balloon Kid on Game Boy. It's the sequel to Balloon Fight.
All right. I'm going to do one. It's a well-known game that we have never talked about somehow. Kid Icarus.
I cannot believe we haven't done this one yet.
Yeah.
I love this game.
I am not sure if I love the game. I'm going to play the nerfed version on the Nintendo Switch where you start off with all the gear.
Oh, I didn't know that existed.
It does, yeah. Well, it technically starts you with all the gear against the last boss, but after you beat the last boss, the game loops.
Yeah.
So
That
you
makes
start
sense.
it, and of course, I could just go on GameFAQs and get the password to start the game with all the gear too.
Yeah. That's not fun, though. Well, if any of our listeners play Kid Icarus, Balloon Kid, Solstice, Stun Runner, any port, if you get stuck in an unwinnable state, if you buy video games from, what's that website?
Poshmark.
Poshmark. If you steal a Redbox vending kiosk, or if you have comments on Shinobi as a video game adaptation to a movie, or if it's the exact plot is Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. We have all our socials out there. Zach, thank you, Zach, maintains all of that. And it's all in our show notes and our link tree. And we do have some good feedback this time.
Yes, I will. I'll take the longer one. I did. Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, Majors writes in. I was talking about Waukesha being a town dedicated to the great Les Paul. There's a town called Mount Airy that is the inspiration for Mayberry. I don't know. Mayberry, from the Andy Griffith Show.
Okay.
It's unless you had Nick at Night, you'd not.
Oh, I had Nick at Night. Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean this is a boomer childhood show. For sure.
Yes.
Is UFO 50 like Retro Game Center on the DS? I don't know. Have you tried UFO 50 yet?
No, a lot of podcasts I listen to are raving about it, so I just need to get it. Like I heard legit there are 20 great games in it. So, gotta try it.
That's what I've heard, yeah. Neo Geo CD. So we were talking about the differences between games and cartridges. Like what he just mentions, he was under the same assumption that they were just games with Red Book audio. But some of them, Breaker's Revenge in particular, had an extra mode. So, which was like extra combo system, more character colors, and a bunch of other enhancements. So
Cool.
that's neat. Yeah, Sega CD ports of cartridge games were kind of like that too. Some of them were just the same game, but with better audio. Like I think Pitfall was basically just the same game. And then some had other modes, although they weren't necessarily like Mortal Kombat might have had some extra modes, but that was a really bad port to CD.
Turbo Duo actually had an opposite one. Bonk 3 has more animation on the Hue card than it does in the CD. The CD has less animation frames, but Red Book audio music.
Yeah,
Really strange.
that's an interesting one. Failed spin-off TV shows. Wondering if I would do a podcast about failed spin-off shows. No, I will not. Let's see here. Namco G-Con controller. He's basically giving it good reviews, and it's perfect for Ridge Racer and Wipeout. Some talk about Mach 3 Arcade. Did I say that Mach 3 didn't exist? I don't think I said that.
You may have. I don't know. I think you said that you've never seen it. I think you said you saw...
I have seen a Mach 3 in person, and I think on our bonus episode we just released, I probably told the same story. But there was an arcade in Pennsylvania that had what I recall being like a giant Mach 3 game, where like you could watch it from outside of the cabinet. Like it's hard for me to describe this thing, but I'm thinking I really hallucinated this particular cabinet. I don't think I've ever seen the stand-up Mach 3 cabinet. I think I've only seen the sit-down model. But this was like sit-down and open air, if that makes sense. So like the sit-down Mach 3 has like a roof on it. Maybe this arcade owner just took the roof off it. You know, because he wanted people to see this Laserdisc game. I'm wondering if that's what I actually saw.
Okay.
An arcade owner that went rogue and just altered the cabinet. Like, if you did that to Discs of Tron, that would be, like, sacrilege, because the whole purpose of that game is that you're in the dark little cabinet.
Yeah. Here, wait, let me look at this, see if there's other cabinet pictures. No, they only have one cabinet picture. Never mind.
Of Mach 3?
Yeah. I was looking
Mach
on
3,
Clav.
a cab. Oh, I'm going to look on the Google Images.
Oh, wait, I see the one with the sit-down one, but I don't see one without a back or top.
Yeah, so you see the sit-down one. Yeah, like I swear I saw something like this where you could watch the game from the outside. But again, I might just be hallucinating that. There's just a very good chance I was just a dumb kid and misremembering what that cabinet looked like. In the stand-up one, I swear I haven't seen that, but I've only ever seen this in person once. So it's a very cool looking game. I don't know if it's any fun, but it looks really great.
Yeah.
Airbnb. We talked about Airbnb. Airbnb is one. It's not near the Mississippi, but there's an Airbnb. It's tied to an arcade called Wieners and Losers, which I assume must sell hot dogs as well. And they made 80s themed bedrooms with wood grain and everything. Look at that.
Yeah, there's a great picture with a lot of 80s posters and stuff.
Quick question for us. Have you ever browsed Digital Press game room galleries? Like where people put pictures of their game rooms?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in a few Facebook groups that people post them, and a few Discords, I think, too.
Okay, so that's replaced the Digital Press gallery of that?
I don't know what Digital Press is.
Digital Press is a website that's been around, like, forever.
I have no memory of Digital Press.
Really? Okay. That's shocking. That game's been...
I know. I've been on the internet since before World Wide Web. So you'd think I would know of this stuff because there wasn't many websites back then.
Yeah, I feel like Digital Press they claim they've been around since 1991. Well, that can't be right.
That can't be right unless they were on like AOL or something. They were a keyword.
Yeah, well, maybe.
They could have been a BBS.
I just remember that like they were one of the first video game sites I ever saw. Mm-hmm. They've been like, I don't know, Dave's Classics, which I think got sued. Okay. Turbo Duo Intelligent Link. He was actually really psyched to get that, but because it was cheaper than buying a Sound Blaster CD-ROM kit. Plus, he did not have a spare internal bay.
Yeah. It was a cool idea.
It was. He brings up a Mandela effect that I've heard from other people before. He remembers Gradius 3 for the NES.
I have the same one, too. I swear that existed.
We have to like search for that because there must have been like an EGM article or something. Mm-hmm. It can't just be like everybody randomly remembers Gradius 3 for NES. It's got to be buried somewhere. Solstice. He did not care for the puzzles. He did request a free demo video from a magazine before the launch. And he's like this weird high 8 film tape called He's got to put that on YouTube or something.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that about covers it. Thank you, Majors. That's
thank you.
Interesting topics.
And Jason writes in, he tried to get into Minotaur on the Intellivision Lives on the DS and just couldn't get into it. The separate buttons for picking up treasures and using stairs, etc., got into the way of the flow. He says, I think the only complex Intellivision game that he could play was Tower of Doom, which he thinks was supposed to be a licensed D&D game.
It was. Yeah, that's the story I recall too.
And every once in a while, he'll go back and play that one. And he appreciates seeing us both, and will miss Hugh and hopes you maintain your online presence at your website.
Yeah, I will, because I'm going to be posting some Genesis demos and pictures of garbage.
And he says his kids are going to college, and he's been listening to you on podcasts since they were toddlers.
That's about right, because I started podcasting when my youngest kid, who's going to be going to college soon, was just born.
Wow.
That's how I know I've been doing this too long. And that's how I know I've been doing it way too long now.
It's this old, yeah, it's an adult now. That's how old.
Yeah.
Meaning podcasting.
Podcasting, yeah, it's been going on too long, quite frankly. All right, unwinnable game states from social media.
I actually, I'm glad I put a note in here that I forgot, because I forgot to talk about it before.
First off, before that, thank you, Jason.
Yes, thank you. Space Quest 4. I don't know if this was, I think this was listed in it, but a few minutes into the game, like seriously, like the third screen you go to, there's a time machine, and there's a code in the time machine. And if you don't write down that code because you need to get back here at the end of the game, you play the entire game and you just can't get back here. And it's different every time, I think. So you can't just like Google it.
All right. So I have an idea. I just thought of this right now. I'm full of good ideas and not full of time. So have you played the Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures?
No.
Right. So they're side-scrolling games that just use all the tropes of bad side-scrolling games. So anything you've encountered in like a game like Bad Collision, or platforms that disappear as soon as you land on them, like any kind of thing that aggravated you in a side-scrolling game is in the Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures. Like, you should learn to work with like a game engine and write a King's Quest style game that is all just the worst parts of that series. all the horrible puzzles that no one could possibly figure out.
Someone already did Stairs, right? There was Sierra Endless Stairs. Yeah.
Endless Stairs. Yeah, I thought about doing a game called Endless Climber, which was based on Breath of the Wild. But just, and that would have to be one of them. Like, in the beginning of the game, like, this mouse runs up to you and, gives you a password and then runs off. And if you don't write down exactly what the mouse told you that one time in 2 seconds, then you can't win the game.
Yeah. And it's different every time. You can't Google
different every time. Like, maybe the mouse runs up and, bites you some number of times if you don't remember what that number is.
Yeah.
I don't know. But something like that.
Yeah. It's just endless or unwinnable adventure. Call it that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There probably is some way to win it, but I thought about doing the same with like an RPG. Like, here's all the worst things about JRPGs in one game.
Yeah. Like, have the zombie you fight literally have a 5-minute animation like in Final Fantasy every time.
But then I realized Final Fantasy II has already been made, which leads us to our next section.
Yeah. So let's see. Someone writes in and says, Final Fantasy on the NES, you're midway or to the end of the Chaos Temple, and before you fight Chaos, realizing you're down to 3 members with nothing to revive or heal your party. You just can't get past that, right?
Yeah, it's too difficult.
And then someone else writes in?
Final Fantasy II. Yeah.
Yeah, what happens in this one?
Final Fantasy II, the original Final Fantasy II is like all the worst things you can imagine putting into a JRPG in a game. It's a miracle it's a Final Fantasy III. It's got this weird sort of leveling system where you gain stats by using items. So, like, if you want your character to be a sword wielder, you use a sword a lot. And if you want your character to gain hit points, you have to take a lot of damage. So the more damage you take, the more hit points you gain.
Okay.
You understand the system?
Yes.
So that leads to you going to battles where your characters just all wail on each other the entire fight. You just go up to like the weakest enemy in the game, and then your characters just constantly beat each other with their own weapons to gain stats.
That's really strange.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he mentions Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy Origins for the PS1. Have you played that port of the game?
I played the PSP port, which I believe
Okay.
is based on this port.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. And then someone else writes in and says, when I was born.
Well, I was saying we got stuck. He got stuck in the Sun Temple. You get the thing designed to destroy the Dreadnought, but all the characters are at critical health. Found a chocobo force and thought, well, look, a chocobo. My first mistake was not using it to return to heal up. And then going back to the battle without healing.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Yep. That sounds like bad RPG stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But then Michael writes in saying, when I was born. So it's unwinnable, huh? Life.
Yeah.
It's an unwinnable state. And so everyone, thank you for the social media feedback and the email feedback. And our next question of the episode is, what are some homebrew console ports that are better than the arcade originals? And I could think of a lot of them. I think that was a topic before, but maybe we could sneak that in as a topic again.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, there's certainly ones that are different than the arcade version, and they're better because they're different.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But yeah, again, email at retrogameclub.net or hit us up on all the socials. And what are our next games? Kid Icarus and Balloon Kid. So
Yes.
please let us know if you play any of those. And I think that's it.
Yeah, so thanks for listening.